Hello everyone, this is Brad Wood. Today I wanted to show you a cool Docker image called Minibox. This is made by Pete Freitag of Foundeo, and the name of the image is just Foundeo/Minibox. So this is a super minimalistic, tiny Docker image that just wraps up the command box binary for you to be able to play around with. It differs primarily from the Ortus Solutions command box image in that the Ortus image is designed for starting servers. That assumes you want to start a server. When you start the image, it automatically starts a server. The environment variables are all based around starting servers, which is perfect for starting servers. Minibox doesn't make any assumptions. It doesn't have any custom start scripts, doesn't have any special environment variables outside of the ones that CommandBox and Lucy already inherently have. And so if you want to use Minibox to be able to just kind of play around with CommandBox for any purposes, you can do that easily. And so it bundles the Azul OpenJDK, which is only about 40 megs, and once you add in CommandBox, the entire Docker image is only about 80 to 90 megs total. It does use CommandBox Lite, which uses Lucy Lite, so it doesn't have everything you might be used to, but it does work out of the box. So in order to use Minibox to play around with, obviously you don't need to have you don't need to have CommandBox installed on your machine or Java, but you do need to have Docker minimally. So we can say Docker pull Foundeo/Minibox, and we can make sure we pulled the latest Minibox image. I have the latest up to date. So running it can easily be done with Docker run. I'll say I want it to be an interactive terminal. I'm going to use the RM flag just to make sure that we remove the unused image once we're done, so we don't clog up my hard drive. And say I want to run Foundeo/Minibox latest. And if I don't specify any command to run, it's just going to drop me at the Linux prompt inside of my my Docker container, right? So, like I said, there's no assumptions or conventions at all with Minibox. So if you want to run CommandBox, well, you tell I want to run CommandBox. So we can say, okay, run box version. That's what we want to run. So CommandBox is pre-installed. It's pre-warmed up, and you just have to deal with the the overhead of how long it takes to spin up CommandBox inside of this Docker container. But once this runs, it'll output the version of CommandBox 5.7, which is baked into Minibox, and then it dumps us back at our native shell. Now, I am using CommandBox to run my Docker commands. You see, I'm using the exclamation point in front of it, just because it's fun. So yes, I'm running CommandBox inside of Docker inside of CommandBox because why not? So we can also just ask Minibox to run box all by itself, and this will dump us inside of the interactive shell inside of our Docker container. Which is pretty cool. So as soon as this starts up, you can see the interactive shell that we're looking at, the blinking cursor, no longer has bullet train because this is the CommandBox shell running inside of my Docker container. And I can run, commands just like I normally would, the info command, see what the version is. I can interact with CommandBox like I normally would. And then when I exit back out of CommandBox, it exits all the way out of the Docker container and back to whatever shell I was in to begin with. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're using CommandBox Lite, and CommandBox Lite is mostly just baked on top of Lucy Lite. And Lucy Lite does not have all of the extensions that you're normally used to. In fact, the only extension that Minibox ships with in the baked-in Lucy instance that powers the CLI is the compress extension, because that's required for the CLI to run. We can actually we can see that if I ask Minibox to run extension list, which is a built-in cold fusion function in Lucy, outputs a JSON query of all of the installed extensions. I'm going to pipe that into the print table command and ask for the name of the version. We can see the only installed extension, like I said, is compress tags. So most of the functionality of CommandBox will work, but you may run across some functionality inside of your own task runners or modules that doesn't work. So here's an example of something that won't work out of the box. If I run the decode from URL cold fusion function from the command line and I ask it to decode %26, we want to see what that is. The decode from URL function in cold fusion in Lucy comes from the SAPI extension. But the ASAPI extension isn't installed inside of Command Box Lite and Lucy Lite. So we get an error message that says decoded from URL is not a found function, right? Lucy has never heard of such a function, doesn't know what to do with it. So do not fret. We can make this work. It's just a bit of a more of a build your own, right? So we go to download.lucy.org, search for the extension we want. So ASAPI extension. This is the GUID, the almighty unique GUID from the ASAPI extension, and we can ask Lucy to install that when Minibox boots up, and then we'll be able to use it. I'm just going to copy and paste this one from over here since I don't want to type it all. So rerun the same command as before, but now I've added an environment variable with -e right here. And the environment variable is Lucy underscore extensions, and there's that GUID that we found on the download page for the ASAPI extension. This Lucy extensions environment variable is not related to Minibox at all, right? This is not a Minibox feature. This is not even a command box feature. This is purely just a Lucy feature. So Lucy already has an inherent built-in functionality that if there is an environment variable called Lucy underscore extensions defined, when Lucy starts, Lucy will install any extensions found in this common limited list. So that's exactly what we're doing. When Minibox starts, which inherently starts command box, which inherently starts Lucy, we're saying go ahead and install that ASAPI extension while you're in the process of doing it. And then our command here, our command box command, which asks Lucy to run the decode from URL function, will be able to work because it will find the ASAPI extension. So if you have any custom stuff you want to do with Minibox, but it requires some special Lucy extensions, PDF generation, whatever, JDBC connections, doesn't matter. All you need to do is specify these environment variables, and now our command runs just fine. %26 is an ampersand. So most of the places I use Minibox, I'm defining my own Docker image that I'm building. So my Docker image is from Minibox, and then I just specify those Lucy extensions right there as an environment variable inside my custom Docker image. So I know I've installed on top of the compressed extension whatever I need to use. Okay, one of my favorite things to do with Minibox is to run task runners. Task runners are awesome, and being able to spin them up off in a Docker Swarm or Kubernetes, anywhere you want this running Docker, inside of a little tiny Docker container that's nice and fast is a great thing. So you can run one-off tasks as builds or just scheduled tasks inside of task runners, which run great inside of Docker. Or you can even have daemons that run forever, like a Rabbit consumer that you start up and the container just sits there and runs while it processes through messages. You can make your own daemons literally with just a while true sleep, right, inside your Docker container. So fire off some threads that are going to do something, maybe start some watchers that watch for file changes, and then just let the container run and do whatever you want. So I have created a very simple task runner in this current directory right here, the task.cfc. And when we run it, it prints out a green line that says, I am running from inside, and then we get the system setting os.name. And this is a Java system property that's automatically defined by Java. And so command box obviously is running Java under the hood. So that'll tell us the name of the operating system that it's running inside of. So I can run this task just directly from inside of Windows, and it says, I am running from inside Windows 10, right? Or I can run the same task inside of a Minibox Docker container. So I'm going to use a volume, and I'm going to mount the task.cfc from the current working directory. And this %cd nonsense is just what Windows 10 is making me do to reference my current working directory. I don't know why a period doesn't work there. So taking the task.cfc from the current directory, mounting it into the root of the file system as a task.cfc inside the container, and then we run box task run, which is just running from the root of that Docker container. And that will now map our task.cfc inside the container, run it inside the container, and the output will say, drum roll, oh my gosh, I even have a typo. I didn't even spell running correctly. How embarrassing. There's two N's. Wah, wah. So I am running from inside of Linux. There we go. So it's super easy to get up and running, firing stuff off inside of Minibox. And Minibox is my favorite way to wrap up task runners inside of Docker and run them inside of Docker Swarm or whatever you want. You can use Minibox inside of GitLab pipelines. You can use it inside of Travis CI pipelines. You can use it inside of GitHub Actions for one-off functionalities, or You can even use Minibox as the base image for like a GitLab pipeline, because command box is just right there pre-installed. Save yourself the trouble of having to install command box as the first step of your build. Lots of functionality there. So thanks to Pete Freitag for making Minibox, and hope you guys have fun using it. Happy Miniboxing.